Today from the Global Lane, Chinese students slaughtered at Tiananmen Square. How should the United States respond 30 years later? Centuries-old mutilation practiced against young girls around the world. We look at how some Christians in Kenya are trying to stop it. More than liberal education. In the American Midwest, student tuition fees are paying for abortions. And only hours after the Virginia Beach massacre, liberals bang the drum again for tougher gun laws. And it's all right here on the Global Lane. On June 4th, 1989, China's communist government launched a brutal crackdown against its own people in Beijing at Tiananmen Square. If you're in your late 30s or older, you may recall scenes like these: a brave student facing down a Chinese army tank, and the Statue of Lady Freedom, similar to the U.S. Statue of Liberty in the square just across from the Forbidden City. Now, what began as a peaceful demonstration demanding more freedom ended in a slaughter. At least several hundred people were murdered when troops opened fire. Perhaps as many as 2,600 were killed. No one knows for sure because the Chinese government still does not admit the massacre ever happened. They've erased it from their history books, but the students who were there, families of the victims, and many people around the world know the truth. And today, 30 years later, Christians, Uyghurs, and others are facing extreme persecution as that government works aggressively to maintain total control over the Chinese society. So what now? Not only for China's Christians, but also Taiwan and the future of U.S.-China trade. Well, joining us with some insights is Travis Weber. He's Vice President of the Policy Center for Religious Liberty at the Family Resource Council. Travis, first I've got to ask you, China had some harsh words for U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who said China should be held accountable for the Tiananmen Square massacre, and China said it was an affront to the Chinese people. What do you think? Was the anniversary an appropriate time for Pompeo to demand China reveal the truth about Tiananmen Square?
It absolutely is. China has to defend its record on these issues. It's the only thing that it can do, the only thing it knows how to do. It can't be seen as backtracking on these issues of human rights and religious freedom. And that's very unfortunate because China's record has been abysmal. It only continues to get worse. And we should not let up the pressure. We should continue to call out China for its failure to protect religious freedom and human rights. This is the real story here when it comes to the U.S.-China relationship. It's the real story when it comes to talking things like trade. We have to integrate religious freedom with these trade discussions. Our failure to really do so in the 90s led to China being admitted to the modern world in the hope that it would do better on human rights and religious freedom. But the past decades have shown that it has failed to do so. In the past few years, China has really shown its brutal nature. So I think we have to absolutely call out China on religious freedom and human rights at this time, and this is a very appropriate thing to do so right now.
So I know you were just in Taiwan. China recently threatened to use force to reunite Taiwan with the mainland. How serious are those threats, Travis, and why now?
Yeah, I think we have to take the threats seriously. I think China may be trying to talk a big game and to get everyone to back down right now. We know their officials are recently in Singapore at a defense conference defending their military position. They're very sensitive, however, to the freedom and religious freedom and human rights that Taiwan offers right now. Taiwan is a flourishing democracy, and it stands in stark contrast to China in its continued repression of religious freedom. National Security Advisor Bolton recently met with a top Taiwanese defense official. This is the first such meeting since 1979, so very significant in the context of U.S.-China relations.
President Trump, as you know, has received a lot of criticism for imposing tougher trade tariffs on China. And you think it's not enough. You had mentioned it briefly, but what else must he do when dealing with China on trade?
I think we have to integrate religious freedom into these trade discussions. We have to make sure it's on the table as an issue to be discussed, and cannot let the Chinese to reach a deal that benefits them without addressing religious freedom. In the decades since they entered the modern world on trade, they have failed to address correspondingly important issues of religious freedom and human rights. And in the past few years, we've seen a campaign to bring religion increasingly under the control of the state in China, to sinify religion, so to speak, and to exercise increased control over the construction and regulation of Christian churches, to exercise increased, in taking on a very dark, ominous tone, increased control over its Muslim Uyghur population in the Xinjiang province in the West, using modern technology to surveil, control. We even heard reports at this conference that they were blood testing the Uyghur population, which sends a signal they might be interested in a widespread campaign of organ harvesting. This is ominous stuff. And we should not in any way be admitting China to the modern world of civilized countries, whether East or West, given their failure to address religious freedom and human rights. It just cannot happen. They want to play in the modern world on trade. They need to address the issues of religious freedom. This goes for anyone around the world, whether the Eastern or Western world, and we cannot let them have a pass on this issue.
And I know many Christians, Chinese Christians, are saying that this is the worst crackdown since Mao's Cultural Revolution, worst crackdown against churches and Christians. Now, this struggle with China may continue for many years, Travis. What can our viewers do about it? Anything?
Yeah, I think this is, it's an important point, because we need to pray for persecuted believers in China. There are many who do not have anyone to speak for them. So we need to speak for them in the United States, but also pray for them. They're sensitive to perceived links or actual links with the West. Outside Chinese government will target them if they've seen as having outside connections. So we need to pray for their strength. At the same time, we need to increase our government's pressure on China for its failure to address religious freedom. And this is where we can speak to our own elected officials, to the White House here, and let our government know we care about religious freedom if we're going to deal with them on trade. We care about religious freedom in the Western world and in the relationship that we have with China. So it's a prayer. We have prayer points for action and political action points for action. Both are important for those in the West, in the United States, who have religious freedom. We need to exercise our freedom on behalf of those in China who don't have it.
Okay, it's all about linkage, is it not? Religious freedom, human rights, and trade. Okay, Travis Weber of the Family Research Council, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
Female genital mutilation, also known as female circumcision, is the cutting of female genitalia for traditional or religious purposes. The World Health Organization says the practice violates human rights. Many countries have passed laws against it, but it's still happening. More than 200 million females have been cut in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, some even right here in the United States. And the result? The World Health Organization reports many suffer severe pain, excessive bleeding, urinary infections, sexual problems, and complications with childbirth. In Kenya, Harvest to Hope Africa has partnered with the Maasai Women's Ministry to help end the butchery there. I recently visited the Maasai women near one village after they had rescued several girls from FGM, forced marriage, and sexual slavery. Well, joining us with more from Nairobi, Kenya, is Harvest to Hope Africa's Frederick Manuku. So, Fred, your ministry is actively involved in helping the Maasai women end this practice in Kenya. So, tell us more about what's happening to these girls and why.
Yes, thank you so much, Gary, and it was so nice to be with you last time you were here. We just actually come back from the Maasai mission this afternoon, and it's a big problem. It's still going on right now, even though the government has outlawed the practice. What is happening is that most men in Maasai land are kind of using these girls as a form of financial gain or to gain wealth. And so they're giving out their girls to circumcision so that they can be married off. And that is mostly the reason why they're doing that.
Now, these are cattle herders mostly, and they're away from home. So do they think that this is something that will keep their women faithful to them while they're away?
Yeah, mostly, yes, it is. They believe that if a girl, one, is circumcised, she's mature, she can be given off, doesn't matter at which age. Some they are given out at even 11 years. And also, because men are away for a long period of time, they just want to make sure that the women stay faithful. They believe that they will not be sexually active if they are circumcised. And it's locking out so many girls out of the rest of the world. And girls who want to live their life like any other person cannot do that because the culture of female genital mutilation blocks them and locks them out of the rest of the people.
You also had mentioned to me when I was there that women and daughters are treated like property.
In Maasai land, if a cow is sick, it will be given more attention than if a wife is sick. Or even if, so girls and women are more or less like properties of the community. They don't have that strong say on what they want or what they don't want. It's like men make decisions for them.
And I know we met a woman named Agnes who has a ministry with other Maasai women. How do they get the girls out of this? How do they rescue them?
Agnes now has a movement where they are educating fellow women not to allow their girls to go through circumcision. And so the women that have received the message, they kind of, when they hear their husbands want to give off the girls, they will tell the girls to run away because the father wants to give them out. And so the wife will pretend like doesn't know where the girl went, but she knows that she's the one who kind of gave the information when he heard that the husband wants to give the daughter out. So there are quite a number of girls. We are currently following around 89 girls that they need placed in a safe environment because some of them, they're staying somehow in the bush.
We met some girls who were being forced into prostitution, sexual slavery, forced marriage. Tell us about that. That's very common, I guess, with the Maasai.
Cattle are considered property in Maasai community. So every man wants to own as many cows as they can. And the more girls you have, or the more children probably you have, more girls means more cattle. And so you can't keep a girl if you don't have animals. So most of the time, these girls are given out so that the fathers can have more cows. The husband will bring the cows to the husband. So it's kind of a barter trade. You give me the girl, I give you the cows.
And some are even sold into prostitution, sexual enslavement. So what are the repercussions, Frederick, the consequences for the women? Also, some men have tried to stop this traditional practice. I know one male elder that you posted on Facebook just said he would help this effort. What are the consequences for them?
They are going against what the whole community has believed is right for thousands of years. And so they are like outcasts. They don't believe in what the community believes, so they're outcasts. They are not treated like any other human would be treated among the same community. So either they have to do this underground and they don't have to be seen about it. But also the good thing is that the Kenyan government has outlawed the practice. So those who come out strongly that they want to stop the practice, we embrace them. In case of any risks on their life, we have to make sure that we approach the government to see if they can get protection. But again, the government is not so much there. So the most times we have to get them to rescue centers.
And I understand you do everything legally. You go before judges and so forth. What can our viewers do about this, Frederick?
Well, the main thing is we need to pray that the Lord will open the eyes of those who have practiced this for many years to see that we can no longer use girls as objects in the 21st century. God loves each one of us, and we have to be agents of love. And the second thing is that people need to come out here, like Agnes and her team. They are really working hard to try and set up a rescue center for these girls. So those who are willing to come and partner with groups like Agnes to come up and build rescue centers where these girls can find hope and comfort.
Hope and a future.
Yes.
That's what the Lord has for them, and that's what you're trying to accomplish. So, Frederick Manuku of Harvest to Hope Africa, thank you for setting us straight and joining us today.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow. Connect. Have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crabb Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
President Trump's tough trade tariffs on China are having a positive effect on some American college campuses. Several Chinese-funded centers used by the communist government to spread propaganda in America have closed their doors. Here to set us straight on that and several other college campus developments is Campus Reform's Emma Michelle. So, Emma, explain about the Confucius Institute closings. Where are they? What are they doing?
Well, recently, Senator Ted Cruz actually introduced legislation that said that campuses with Confucius Institutes, which are essentially outposts of the Chinese government on college campuses, will no longer get Department of Defense funding. And since that bill was passed and signed by the president, we have actually seen 41 campuses close their doors to their Confucius Institutes. The tricky thing here is there are still 91 of these open in the United States. And this is coming during the 30th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre, which, as a lot of people may remember, was a horrible massacre that was brought out against Chinese students who were protesting in favor of democracy against the communist Chinese government. And the CIA, the intelligence community in the United States, has actually deemed these institutes as threats to our national security.
And they were actually receiving Defense Department money or funds?
These schools that had the institutes were receiving those funds, but the legislation proposed by Senator Ted Cruz actually banned that from happening. No more defense funding goes to schools with Confucius Institutes, and in result, we saw about 40 of them shutter those institutes up, but there are still over 90 in effect across the country.
On another hot topic issue on campus, Emma, abortion. So tell us what is happening at the University of Chicago with tuition costs and some death threats there.
Well, at the University of Chicago, the student government recently voted to use student fees, which are mandatory for all students. They're supposed to go towards things like clubs and activities. They voted to use student fees to actually fund abortions for students on campus. And one student took issue with this and he actually is a student representative in the student government, and he put in a bill that mimicked the Hyde Amendment that said no student fees were to go towards funding abortions. His bill was defeated, and he was actually threatened with death threats. There were huge protests across the campus the entire day and in the days ensuing afterwards. Really, this raises some concern because University of Chicago is supposed to be a bastion of free speech. They're known for their Chicago Statement, which protects free speech for all. But it's clear they don't understand that free speech is not just words, but it's actually freedom of expression with the money that you are being forced to pay.
And I understand students at another university wanted Star Parker to speak, but that request was turned down. What happened there?
Yes, Star Parker is a famous pro-life activist, and she was actually disinvited from a speech because students had trouble with the fact that she was pro-life. And this is just shocking because students are pretty accepting of pro-choice speakers on campus, people from the Women's March, Cecil Richards, who used to run Planned Parenthood. These are all people that have spoken at events and even at graduations. Yet it's such an issue when one person who dares to say abortion is wrong and here's why comes to campus, offers a perspective, and is shunned and disinvited. It really just shows the vitriol towards pro-life people and also towards Christians on our college campuses right now.
And finally, Emma, I've got to get in some praise for my alma mater, I think anyway. When they do the right thing, it's deserving. I hope they're doing the right thing here and teaching this the right way. They're now offering a course on fake news. Tell us about that. What's that about?
Well, this course is actually being taught, interestingly enough, by a professor who used to work for CNN, and he was a correspondent there. And the focus of this class is to hone in on media bias and reporting, specifically in the era of Donald Trump. Now, I hope that this is going to focus on the extremely unfair coverage that the president has received from most of the mainstream media. But I really sincerely do hope that this is something that will be presented fairly and that these students will have a chance to analyze something that's very important, especially for future journalists, which is media bias and what is the role of journalism.
Okay, we can hope, Emma, at the University of Michigan, a liberal institution. We'll see how they teach that one. So, Emma Michelle, thanks for joining us and setting us straight, and go blue.
Great to be here. Go blue.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
The bodies from the Virginia Beach mass shooting weren't even cold yet, and liberals once again began banging the drum for tougher gun laws. First up, Democratic presidential candidate Kirsten Gillibrand at a Fox News town hall.
we need, as Americans, need to stand up to the greed and corruption of the NRA. They care more about their profits than the American people. They care more about selling guns to someone on the terror watch list, or someone with grave mental illness, or someone who has a violent criminal background. They're against universal background checks.
So let me get this straight, Senator Gillibrand. The NRA, not city employee Dwayne Craddock, was responsible for killing 12 innocent people in Virginia Beach. You see, folks, we're in a society now where blame is passed on to something or someone else when evil happens, not the person responsible. It's the powerful NRA lobby, or it's because of gun silencers, guns themselves, high-capacity magazines, or in some cases bump stocks, semi-automatic rifles. No, it was because of the twisted mind and evil actions of the shooter. And by the way, the Virginia Beach shooter legally purchased those .45 caliber handguns that he used in the attack. Second up, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. You remember him. He was accused of appearing in blackface in his college yearbook. He also appeared on a radio show advocating infanticide. Now he's called a special session of the Virginia State Assembly to address gun violence. The problem is the deceased victims of the Virginia Beach mass shooting had yet to be buried. His call for action came at a time when flags were still flying at half-mast, and the Commonwealth was still in a state of mourning. But here was Northam seizing the moment. Never miss an opportunity to make some political points, Governor?
I will be asking for votes and laws, not thoughts and prayers.
Governor Northam, I don't think many people would object to you calling for the state assembly to do something legislatively to better protect Virginians from gun violence, but your timing was off. You should have waited a bit. Also, you should have said votes and laws are needed in addition to thoughts and prayers. You made it sound like loving thoughts and prayers don't matter, and people who pray for the victims and their families aren't important. But I agree, thoughts and prayers are not enough. More is needed. In our schools, we need armed guards and tighter security, and we need the same in our state, federal, and municipal buildings. A few good people openly carrying sidearms would serve as a deterrent. They could definitely take out an evil gunman before more people could be hurt or killed. That's just one solution. Criminal and mental health background checks should be required before anyone purchases a gun. Other than that, Governor Northam, I'm asking our viewers to keep praying for God's protection on our nation. We didn't have all these mass shootings when you and I were children, and you know why? Perhaps because we kept God in the public square. Let's not forget what the fight is really against. It's not the NRA or the guns. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Yes, we need divine protection and prayer in our lives more than ever. And may God and wise leaders save us from this ongoing carnage. Well, that's it from the Global Lane. Be sure to follow us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And until next time, be blessed.